Happy Father's Day, mga papas. To me too. Happy Father's Day to me. Okay, so there's a special day, and honestly, if I were being honest with you, as I was praying and trying to prepare for this message this whole week, if I was not reminded by somebody that it was Father's Day, I almost forgot that it's Father's Day. Okay, but this is a special day, and I hope and pray that we would continue to honor our fathers and our husbands, not just on this day, but every day. Okay? And so I know that this month, I know we've been focusing on missions, and that's kind of the theme this month. So I believe and I pray that this would speak to not just the fathers, but to everyone, as we're talking about missions and in transition also. I know that we're doing a lot of moving, and that's probably what's in our mind right now. And I pray that as we do that transition, that we would be encouraged and we would be challenged today. And so if you could open your Bibles to the book of Matthew chapter 5. This is a familiar verse. This is the church's verse, actually, or part of it, one of the verses. So starting in verse 13, we'll read Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse 13. Okay, I'm going to be reading from the English Standard Version. Matthew chapter 5, starting in 13, it says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." And I was sharing this with the youth last service, that Time Magazine has this, they give this top 100 people, right? A list of people, not on the measure of their power or wealth or fame, but they give this top 100 most influential people, right? Whether their influence on people is good or bad, they're going to be on that list if they believe that these people are influential. And so just to shout out a few names that you could find on this list for 2017. You got people like Conor McGregor, if you know him. He's a UFC fighter, MMA. You have people like Alicia Keys. You have John Legend, Ryan Reynolds. You have, again, LeBron James. Right? It's okay. We will be okay. All right? Wait, whoa, chill. Chill, Tita Bang. It's okay. All right, congratulations, Warriors. Let's give them a round of applause. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to be honest. I mean, Stephen Curry's name wasn't on this top 100. I'm being honest. Honestly, it wasn't there. I tried to look for it. Just kidding. Okay, so LeBron James is there. Tom Brady, famous, of course, football player. And we have leaders like Donald Trump that's on this list. Our very president in the Philippines, Paring Rodrigo Duterte, right? We have that guy. We have Pope Francis that's there. Who else do we have? Kaepernick is there too. We have a lot of people on this list that they consider most influential, right? Because if we were to define influence, just to give a definition, it's the capacity of having an effect on someone's life. And so these people, whether good or bad, positive or negative influence, they have made a big impact on people's lives. But you know what's funny? Even though these people are considered influential, their influence is only to a certain extent. Like these people are only influential in the area of health. Some of these people are influential in the area of science, in the area of entertainment and sports, in the area of politics. And so these people, yes, are influential, but only to a limited extent. But did you know that Jesus also urges us, his followers and believers, to be a top, most influential people of this world? But the question is, what kind of influence did Jesus want us to be? Even though we're in transition, even though we're on the move, what kind of influence should we be to the people around us? And I gave this term to the youth earlier, and I don't know if I made this term up. I don't know. I just want us to understand the kind of influence that Jesus is talking about here in this that we call a famous Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, because he calls us to be, I believe, not just an influence in the shallow kind of sense of the word, but Jesus urges us to be eternal influence. That not only are we to impact people's lives on the shallow things, but we are to impact people's lives in a way that they see something different about us. If we're talking about missions, we're not talking about just verbally sharing the word of God. We're talking about witnessing to people even through our lives. And so what kind of influence do you have on the people around you, whether at work, you're at school, or just the people you encounter every day? Do they see Jesus in you? Are you leaving that eternal impact in their lives? Just an example of someone who, I guess, displayed this or lived out this eternal influence kind of lifestyle was a person by the name of Dr. John Getty. Okay, he was a missionary, or he did ministry to a place called Anitium. Okay, I don't know if that's how you really pronounce it. I know there's a bunch of ways to pronounce that. But Anitium in 1848, right? And so he ministered to this particular place for 24 years, faithfully and obediently doing God's ministry there. And so when he died in 1872, they put on his tablet, they inscribed there, right? It says, when he landed, talking about Dr. Getty, when Dr. Getty landed in 1848, there were no Christians. When he left in 1872, there were no heathens. Right? This particular place that did not know, people did not know Jesus Christ. 1848, no Christians. But Dr. Getty was available and willing to be used as a channel to these people, and when he left and when he died, no heathens found in Anitium. And this is the interesting about influence when we're talking about having an effect on someone's life, especially when we're talking about spiritual or eternal, is that Dr. John Getty, not only did he impact people's lives at that moment when he was there, but he impacted people's life eternally. And you know what? For you to show Christ-likeness to those people around you, to show Jesus Christ in your life, you may not see the result now in your lifetime. Raise your hand if you're 40 and above. Don't be shy. You know what I mean? 40, 50? 50, 60? 70? Okay. Too much. Okay? And you know what? Honestly, whatever age you are, whether you're 15, 16, or 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, whether generation you're in, Jesus calls us now, he commands us now to be this eternal influence to the people of this world. Because even though you're 60 or 70, still exemplify Christ-likeness. Because you don't know the effect of that even after you're, I don't want to say this, dead sounds harsh, but yes, after you're dead. You don't know how God will work in their lives through you as a channel. You don't know. I mean, these people we're talking about, if you read Hebrews 11, right? And that's Origo, our young adults Bible study. That's where our verse comes from, the word. And the hall of faith, right? These people talking about by faith. And these faithful servants of God, just obediently serving God, being faithful. But did all of them see the fruit of their faithfulness to God? No. In verse 13, Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth." And so as Jesus Christ followers and believers, we ought to live as salt, asin. It's important to understand that in their time, in their culture, salt is very important. Salt is very valuable. Okay, I won't get into detail. I think I remember Pastor Sam, I think he did a message on this before. And he explained like in detail. I just remember he was flashing something on the screen about salt and stuff. And so I know he got into it. But salt was very valuable during that time. Not the way we view salt now, right? Right? Like when you cook, Tita Christy, just salt is just something you season food with, right? So it tastes good. It has flavor, right? But back then, even Roman soldiers were getting paid in salt, right? That's why we get the word salary. Just backtrack, salary from the Latin word salarium, or the root word sal or salt. And so these soldiers were getting paid in salt because that's how valuable it was before. And so imagine this, Jesus Christ was on the mountainside, teaching, speaking to his followers. And so these people understood the gravity of what Jesus was saying. When Jesus says, "Hey, look, for me, you will be a salt of this earth." And they understood that. They were like, man, that's pretty heavy stuff. But if for us now, we read that and we're like, what? Salt? Right? That's it. But salt is important because it gives flavor, yes, but it also preserves. Right? They didn't have refrigerators back then, or freezers, right? A believer and follower of Jesus Christ is salt of the earth. But let me ask you, what kind of influence will you be? What kind of salt will you be? Because salt is only useful and it's only used in its full potential when it has flavor or savor. Let me ask you, everyone, are you a flavorful salt? Or are you salt, maybe if you examine your life, are you salt that has lost its flavor? We got to be this influence to those around us. And people have to see Jesus in us. And I pray that this somehow would create an urgency in us. That in your unbelieving family members and friends, if no one else will be salt to them, who will? Who will show Jesus to them? What if you're the only channel left, if it's all too late? And I pray that we would all have that kind of mindset, whatever age you are. That if no one's going to share with them, if it's all too late, who would share with them? This world that we live in, there was a pastor in the Philippines where I worked there before I came back here. And he always had this line. He was always saying that the world that we live in is just decaying, right? And he always said that in his messages. I mean, honestly, I think he probably said it maybe like every Sunday. And he would just say that this world is just decaying, right? It's more corrupt, being more corrupt than corrupt, like every day as time goes by. And that's just the result of sin, honestly. You know, we can't save everyone. It's not our job to save people. Our job is to witness to people. Our job is to share Jesus Christ to people. In that sense, for us to be salt of this earth, we're supposed to season this world. This flavorless world. And it's funny because people think that this world, it tastes so good, right? All this temptation, this sin, it tastes so good. It's so much flavor, so colorful. But really, they don't understand that this world is really actually flavorless. If you're thinking about eternal perspective, it's flavorless. And we're supposed to be the salt that's supposed to be flavoring this world. And I asked the youth the same question I'm going to ask you, regardless of your generation, is that the people in your workplace, do people know that you're a Christian without you having to tell them that you're a Christian? Through your words and through the words that you say and the actions that you make. And the way you react to things, the way you speak to people. Do people know at your workplace that you are a Christian? It's just a question that, for us to ponder on, and myself also. Okay? In verse 13, Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth." Then he says this, he says, "But if salt has lost its taste." My hair's getting long, it's like falling, Just kidding. Gotta get a haircut, man. Mark, Beleno. Jesus says, if salt has lost its taste, in other versions, if salt has become tasteless, lost its savor, its flavor, then Jesus says, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. It's funny, it's not funny, but it's kind of more like interesting that the word here, that tasteless, or that phrase, lost its savor, it actually means, in the original, it means to be foolish. So if you think about this, if we were to read that, right? I'm just going to paraphrase, okay? If you are the salt of the earth, right? If you're not being that salt that Jesus wants you to be in this earth, that influence, that eternal influence, we are being foolish. That may sound kind of harsh, but honestly, my prayer is that kind of puts us in our place. And that puts me in my place also. That, man, when I'm not doing what Jesus wants me to do, as far as being witness to the people around me, I'm being foolish. There's so many temptations, so many things for our saltiness or flavor to disappear, right? There's so many things. I was thinking when I was going over this, how do we maintain our savoriness? Is that a word? Savoriness or flavor. How do we maintain that? Because like I said, there's so many things in this world that would try to take away our flavor. That would take away our effectiveness to be an eternal influence to people. How do we maintain that? And I was thinking that, I was like, okay, yeah, you're supposed to be salt, but some of us are in a place in our lives right now where we're flavorless. And we just got to be honest about that. But how do we maintain that to be flavorful? And it brought me back to what I shared with you yung shinare ko po sa inyo 2 weeks ago, is that being on top of your personal alone time with God. You will only be an effective salt to people if you yourself have a good relationship with God. If you maintain your intimate fellowship with God, that's the only way you'll be effective salt of this earth. There's no secret formula, you know. There's no magic word to it. The inevitable is that people are always watching us, you know, watching our every move, our actions. People are always watching out for the words that we say. You know, it's just natural for us people, you know, to like watch people, you know, to watch what they're doing. Especially if they're Christians, right? You know, because you're claiming something, right? And so people want to see, like, are you really about what you're claiming? Are you really what you say you are, you know? And so again, my question is, you know, just for us to keep just thinking and thinking is, what kind of influence do you want to be, not only to your own family, fathers? What kind of impact do you want to leave on your family? And on your friends also, for everyone. The people around you. Okay? And so not only are we to live as salt, but Jesus also says that we are to live as what? This is our church, as light. In verse 14, Jesus says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house." And so this time around, Jesus says, not only are you supposed to be salt of this earth, preservatives, is that right? But you are also to be a light to this world. Jesus says that we are to shine so bright that we are compared to a city on a hill that cannot be concealed or kept secret. And so, you being a Christ follower and believer, having the light who is Jesus in you, that shouldn't be kept secret. That shouldn't be hidden. That shouldn't be concealed. And we were talking about Tatay Gani, you know. He just shares to everyone he encounters, you know. And I think we could all get something from that. Being that light that cannot be concealed. Being that city on a hill that cannot be hidden. And it says there, it's funny because Jesus says that we're supposed to be this light, right? And no one lights a lamp and then puts a basket on top of it. But instead you light a lamp, put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone. And the word light here gives light. It means to beam or to radiate. How many of you have tried to stare at the sun? Have you tried that? My sister, Joanna, what are you doing? I'm supposed to be doing that. Who else? Have you tried it? Yeah, we've all tried it, right? We're supposed to be that bright to people. We're supposed to be beaming, radiating to people. People are supposed to be wondering, like, what is up with Mark? There's something different about him. Right? Like with Jenna, there's something about her. Whoa. Yeah, keep praying for your husband, okay? He's coming soon. Coming soon to a theater near you. We're supposed to be shining this bright to people. We're not supposed to be concealed or kept secret. That's why I keep asking that. Do people know that you are a Christ follower and believer? I remember, if you don't mind me sharing, Ashley, like, when she would share before, like, when she was in high school, right? And then, people would call her, like, Jesus freak and stuff, And she would be in the bathroom stalls, but still devoted, passionate worshiper of Jesus Christ and follower. Like, people should know, without you saying a word, that you are a Christ follower. Actions are so loud, man. Actions are so loud. Because even pastors that step up in this pulpit in any church could say whatever they want. But even if what I'm speaking to you is not seen in my own life, like, why am I here, And all I'm saying is that to be, vulnerable with you is that we all fall short at this. Where we get intimidated sometimes, or we have fears, and we conceal that light. But my encouragement is that don't keep it a secret. This is just a challenge for us, a reminder for us that what kind of influence that we ought to be in this sin-burdened world. We are to be salt of this earth and light of the world. But then Jesus says that when people see this light in you, when people see something different in your virtuous deeds, there's something about you. Jesus says that you are not to shine in front of people so that you would receive glory. But Jesus says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your virtuous deeds, your good works, so that they may glorify your Father which is in heaven. That's why we always say, when we evangelize, when they reject you, they don't reject you, right? They're rejecting who we are sharing. And so what we're saying is that we don't do this for ourselves anyways, Us Christians, Christ followers, this is not for us. There was a poem, right? I'm just kidding. Because I had Mark read it for the youth earlier, this poem. Come here, Mark. Let's do it again. Let's give a round of applause to Mark Beleno, soon to be Mark Jose. I'm just Hey, I'm just playing. Just kidding, Mark. All right, look. I asked Mark to read this poem for the youth with like much passion and emotion. And I hope he would do that with a lot of flavor and savor and saltiness. Not like salty towards me, but just do it with emotion and, just...
Do whatever, huh? Get it from Busa Beats. So this poem, it says this. It says, my life shall touch a dozen lives before this day is done. Leave countless marks for good or ill, ere sets the evening sun. This is the wish I always wish, the prayer I always pray. Lord, may my life help other lives it touches by the way.
Amen. Thank you, Mark. Let's give him a round of applause. I love that last line. This poet, I don't know his name, this author. Where is this? Okay. He says, this is the prayer I always pray, that my life would help others that it touches by the way. And so just emphasizing that just the people you encounter every day. What kind of impact or influence are you leaving on them? And so just to come to a conclusion. There's so much power and gravity to the words of Jesus that I hope we would not take it lightly, because this is our church's verse, Matthew 5:16. And I know that we're moving, but that doesn't even matter, really. It's wherever God places you in your everyday lives, that you would be salt and light. Be that eternal influence. Make that impact on people's lives. It doesn't matter if you're jobless, you're unemployed. be that influence to others. It's not just us, or aspiring pastor or deacons and board and leaders. We should all be carrying the weight of this responsibility that we have, that Jesus commands us to be salt and light, to be a witness for him. And as I close, there's this missionary, and I shared this with the youth earlier. His name is Adoniram Judson, right? And in a newspaper, in an article, he was being compared, right? Because, just how faithful and how obedient he is. He was being compared to some of the apostles in the Bible, right? He's like, hey, Judson, you're like this. You're like Paul. You're like this person and whatever, right? And so Adoniram Judson, he replied by saying this. He said, I do not want to be like a Paul or any mere man. I want to be like Christ. I want to follow him only, copy his teachings, drink in his spirit, and place my feet in his footprints to be more like Christ. And I pray, whether you're still young or whether you're once young or young once, and I'm confused. You confused me, Pastor Ron. I used to know this. Whether you're a young one or once young, that you would desire to be more like Christ. That you would desire to be more like Christ, that you would be on top of your relationship with God. But that you would also desire to live like Christ. That no matter who you encounter, whether the people of San Jose or the people of Fremont, that we would leave that kind of impact on their lives, whoever we minister to. And so that's my prayer for you and myself. And even as we move on, and even for the fathers, I guess just a way to connect this is just be that kind of influence to your families as well. Keep doing what you're doing as a godly influence to them. And for wives and their children, just continue to pray for your dads as well, to be that kind of godly leaders in the household.